Okay, so I had a quick question about jelly beans, and somebody wanted to know how do you figure out which are the good jelly beans? So what I've got here is a package of the Jelly Belly Krispy Kreme donut jelly beans. I was walking through a Target and I just happened to see these. I've never seen these before. They're actually a really interesting product, I think, and a really, really good example of just how bizarre and blasphemous the Jelly Bellies can become. I'm not even completely sure this is a good idea to have a donut flavored jelly bean, but Jelly Belly they just make these flavors and they're kind of fun. So you can see they're written on the side here the flavors. You got the cinnamon, apple filled, the strawberry iced, the glazed blueberry cake. I love the fact that it's not just any glazed blueberry. It's a glazed blueberry cake, as though we can imagine the difference between a rise donut and a cake donut in jelly bean format. And it's really more of a texture thing than a taste per se. And then on the other side here, of course, you've got your original glazed, right? If you were all thinking like, oh my God, where's the glazed? Yeah, of course that's gonna have to be in there. You're not gonna be able to make this product without the glazed flavor, which is probably the best donut that Krispy Kreme makes. And then you've got the chocolate iced with sprinkles. That's really important. It's not just chocolate iced. You're going to have the flavor of sprinkles in there, or so the packaging claims. Okay, so here's what I think a lot of people would do, right? So you find the quick open tab, and you just open up the jelly beans like that. It'll make it a little bit less crinkly and uh, not as much reflection for the camera. That's good. I think that the packaging is actually pretty attractive. I think that the as far as like it's a very appetizing looking product. That's pretty cool. And then of course you open it up, and then we take out some jelly beans, and we just put them on the desk, and then you're gonna want to look at the jelly beans, kind of like put them around, and then normally, I think what people would do is just, take a handful of these jelly beans, try them one by one, and that's a perfectly good way to eat your jelly beans. If you want to try that trial and error method, I actually think that's your traditional way of eating. That's going to be a really tried and true method for a lot of people. There is one trick though. So one thing that you can do is you can take your jelly beans and just kind of like sort them out into the different types. Okay, and then this next part is going to be a little bit tricky. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the different types of jelly beans that you have, and ideally you just want maybe like a couple of each. I've just got one, but you could actually do like a couple of each. And the tricky part is, so this is the really tricky part. You're going to need access to a toddler. So preferably I would recommend a toddler who's going to be maybe like 2 years old, 2 years and change. You could go under that by a little bit maybe, but you probably don't want to go too much over that. And then give the toddler some of these jelly beans. And what you're going to find is that toddler is going to take the jelly beans, going to eat the jelly beans, and the toddler is going to want more jelly beans. Okay. But then, and now this is why you want like a 2-year-old. You don't want like a 1-year-old doing this, because what you're going to do is you're going to take this other pile of jelly beans and you're going to say, okay, but you can only pick one. Okay. You can have one more. Now, your toddler might, put up a little bit of a fuss, but most toddlers are actually highly used to being limited in the amount of things that they can have. That's actually a normal thing for them. They're going to give you some pushback, totally normal. But in most cases, you're going to get that toddler to pick one, and so whatever whatever that toddler chooses, right? So if the toddler chooses this one, for example, you know that this is the flavor that they cannot go without, the one that they want the most. Okay. Now, some of you may be thinking, oh, but wait. What the toddler is going to do is that toddler is just going to choose the one that just looks the best. And what does that tell us? Okay, that tells us that the flavor of the jelly beans is roughly equivalent in overall quality. That holistic quality of like, just do I want to eat this thing? And what's the tiebreaker is the presentation. And this just teaches us, once again, we already knew this, that presentation matters. Presentation especially matters in a jelly bean because you see like all of this speckling that's in the a lot of the jelly bellies. Um, they do that purposefully. That's a very important part of the Jelly Belly product because they know that visual presentation of the jelly bean uh, enhances the experience. That if the jelly bean were not to look the way it does, it actually would cause a psychological effect where it would not taste as good as it does. So definitely, on some level, presentation matters for snack foods. This is a really quick, a really easy test. What you can also do is you can take all of the jelly beans, you can just keep them in the package, give the toddler, a bunch of your jelly beans, and then take the package away. Now, if your toddler puts up a big fight and just and really really wants that box of the jelly beans, then you know that as a whole this collection is pretty good. Now what you want to watch out for is that toddler, if they take the box, right, and then they open it up and they take them out and they're specifically rooting through those jelly beans for like one particular flavor, then your toddler is telling you that they only value one of those flavors, and that's a really really good way that you can limit the number of flavors that you're eating if you're just really concerned that you're going to get a dud jelly bean, one that you're not going to like. You don't want to take that risk. You don't necessarily have to. If you don't have access to a toddler, right? So that can be tricky. If you don't have access to a toddler, you might have access to a cat, and that can be a pretty good substitute. So I have a couple of cats. One of my cats really really likes junk food, and so I can use him as a snack food test. So if I just like take a couple of jelly beans and I put them in his cat food bowl, he will eventually figure out which ones he likes and which ones he doesn't. So that's a pretty good stand-in for a toddler. You can actually use this cat test for other kinds of food. So for example, my cat also greatly prefers McDonald's chicken nuggets over the Burger King chicken nuggets. Whereas actually the Burger King original chicken sandwich he finds much much better than the McDonald's chicken products. So that cat test can also be a really good test for maybe what you do or don't want to eat, assuming that you feel like the cat is fairly well calibrated to your individual taste. But definitely a toddler for something like jelly beans, where you're going to have a lot of flavors. You need to sort through them. It's really inefficient to go through those individually, and think about all of the different kinds. Your toddler test is really quick and really efficient.